We now have Apple TVs in our classroom. You can use the Apple TV to project your iPad or student iPad through the projector onto your screen. The Apple TV has been set up in your classroom. This setup looks like this. There's a black box that's called Apple TV, and there's a white box which is the video converter. They have 2 power cords, a sound cord, and a VGA cord, and the HDMI cord that connects the 2 boxes. But you don't have to worry about that cord. Be sure the PC button is pressed down on the gray hub. The only cords you do have to worry about are the ones that you need to plug in when you are connecting to the Apple TV. The first is the VGA cord, and the second is the sound cord. If you are not projecting sound from your iPad, you only need to connect the VGA cord. The VGA cord and sound cord are generally connected to your laptop, so when you want to project the iPad, you disconnect them from the laptop and plug them into the white video converter box. Once the cords are connected, turn on your projector. Double-click the home button on your iPad and slide the highlighted bottom row to the left by swiping your finger left to right. Here's the bottom row, and swipe it left to right. When you've slid it all the way over to the left, this screen appears down at the bottom, and you want to choose the little box down here that has a box with an arrow going into it. This screen will appear. However, there'll probably be a long list of classrooms on it. Choose your classroom number and then change the mirroring to on. Once you have done this, everything on your iPad screen appears on the projection screen as well. You should also set a password for your classroom Apple TV. This is important because students both inside and outside of your room could project their iPad onto the screen. Don't mention this to them, they'll figure it out eventually, but there's no sense in advertising it. If you have students display their iPad on the screen during a class session, be sure and change the password at the end of the period. Changing the password's easy, remembering it is the hard part, so keep a record. Using your remote, go to Settings, AirPlay, and Set Password. Remember to keep track of it. This is what the screens look like for setting your password. To have a student display their iPad on the screen, they double-click the home button on their iPad, swipe the bottom row from left to right, click on the box with the arrow, choose your classroom, enter your classroom password, and turn mirroring on. As with everything, there are a few things that might go wrong, or at least might delay you. Here are some options to solve the problems. Your Apple TV could go to sleep. Sometimes after lunch, that's a good idea. If the tiny light on the front of the black box goes out, and it probably will, simply click the remote to wake it up. The Apple TV might stop talking to the network. These things happen. If for some reason the Apple TV connection is lost, use the Apple TV remote. Be sure and point the remote at the label area of the black Apple TV box. Go to Settings, General, Network, Configure Wi-Fi, and choose ATV. It will ask for a password. The password is AAATTTVVV. Don't blame me, I didn't make it up. So those are the basics of having yourself or your students use the Apple TV to project their iPad in the classroom.